Development with CSI, and this is the PageFilter webinar. And you're probably here because you probably own one of our products. Maybe it's iMerge, our duplicate finding and merging product, iEmail, our Outlook integration tool, iMove, our national change of address product, Meeting Closer, which allows you to close your meetings or events, Freight Rate Importer, for those of you that use freight by weight shipping in IMIS, iImport, the easiest tool out there to import new records or update existing records into IMIS, iMap, a geolocation web service that allows you to grab the latitude and longitude of your members' addresses, Activity Importer Plus, which allows you to bring in new activities from an Excel or CSV type file, or create activities on the fly with an IQA, iDonate, our single page giving solution, iDocument, which allows you to document your IMIS database, Profile Editor, which allows you to create custom profiles for different member types and be able to define what items you want displayed to your members, FREs, which is also known as Fundraising Made Easy, which lets you modify any gifts or pledges that have been posted, or PageFilter, which is what we're going to talk about today. So today we're going to cover the history of PageFilter, a little bit of the why and the how behind it, a day in the life of using PageFilter, what's new and some important tips, how to get the latest version, how to get help, and questions and answers. So at the end, I'll go through any questions you guys have. If you do have any questions that come to mind throughout the presentation, feel free to type them in, and then we will address them during the Q&A session at the end. So a little bit about PageFilter. So it was originally created because there are some things about IMIS on the web that we wanted to be able to change. And at that point, we really only had two options. So we could tweak miscellaneous web config files and settings to get our desired response, or we could have our developer create a custom HTTP handler that would grab the data and transform it before it got to the browser. So those are great, but there are two issues with both of those. One, nobody's really great at keeping track of all the tweaks that are made. You know, you're making tons of changes on different pages, and who's going to keep track of all those changes and when they were made and who made them. And then you also always needed to go back to the developer for changes, and they'd either have to tweak their HTTP handler, they'd have to recompile and reinstall it, or they maybe broke something else when they were fixing your one change. So we created PageFilter. You know, upgrades prior to PageFilter were a pain because there was never really a perfect member site because it was never perfect after you upgraded or patched IMIS. So PageFilter was born, and it allows a technical consultant to make changes to RISE, iParts, or even public view pages on the fly, and that can include anything like text replacement, variable text replacement, or URL redirects. And the nice thing is all these changes stay with any upgrade or patch to IMIS, so you don't have to worry about keeping track of them or making changes after you've upgraded IMIS. And if any new features may be added to IMIS, so perhaps you have a PageFilter rule and it's because, you know, IMIS just doesn't do what you're looking it to do. But if it does add that feature in the future, you can always turn off a PageFilter rule. So a lot of our PageFilter users, they needed to be able to replace text, like change IMIS ID to member number. Well, you can do that with PageFilter. Maybe they needed to inject text, like adding the pound symbol in front of a price. Well, PageFilter can do that too. Maybe they wanted to hide an area of an iPart, like removing a notes area when editing an address. You can actually do that too with PageFilter. So let's take a look. I've already created a couple rules in the interest of everybody's time. The first rule I'm going to show you is I've got on my main page here. So I'm looking at Doug Morris's record, and I've got IMIS ID here. He probably has no idea what that means, and I've got Renew Now. And I've created this rule where I'm going to replace IMIS ID with member number and then Renew Now with Renew My Dues. So it's currently not enabled. I'm going to enable this rule. Then I'm going to refresh the page. And here's the changes. It happens immediately. So there's the member number. Here's the Renew My Dues button. I've got a couple other rules here. So I've got this address replacement. So there's these checkboxes that say preferred mailing address when I go in to edit an address or add a new address. And then there's also a note section. So if we look at it first, say I wanted to add a new address. So these buttons here, I want to change the language of this, and I don't really want this notes field, so I'm going to hide that from the users. So with my page filter rule, I'm going to enable that. And I'm going to go in here, and the notes area is gone, and you notice the language has changed here. And let's say we've got this commerce page, okay, and you notice, it just lists the price, but I can't tell, is it dollars, is it pounds? I actually have a rule here where I'm going to add the pound symbol in front of all prices. So I'm going to enable that and refresh. And now the pound symbol's there for everybody to view. So it's fairly simple to use, but it does need to be done by a technical person. You do need to know HTML and kind of where to find where the I part might be or the rise page that you're going to edit. But some new things that you might notice. PageFilter is now a desktop application. Prior to that, it was a web-based tool. And we changed it to a desktop application to increase security. That way only you or your users that you give access to PageFilter can run it. And better error reporting and troubleshooting. So if there's an error, it allows it to be reported back to CSI if you have those settings turned on. Another new thing is it now works with Rise and iParts. Previously, it only worked with public view. It still works with public view, but now it also works with Rise and iParts. And you can also remove PageFilter from a site via the help menu, which you couldn't do prior. And there's now a new enhanced license key. We changed the licensing a little bit. It is now licensed by domain, so it's no longer licensed by your IMAS users, so you don't have to worry about getting a new license key every time you add a user to your IMAS database. But if you do want to add a domain, you'll just have to let us know and we can get you a new license key. There's no limits on the number of domains that you're allowed to use at this time. Here's an important tip, and this may be a little technical for some people, but when you're installing PageFilter, typically you're going to want to do it on the web server. It's the most common approach, but you can install it on any workstation as long as that workstation has network access to the web server. And you do need to have read-write access to the website directory via a shared network file. That's how PageFilter makes its changes, so that's where it saves it. So if you don't have access to that, you'll want to make sure that you do install PageFilter on the web server. So let's say you want the latest version of PageFilter. Well, the first thing you should do is find out what version of PageFilter you're running. If it looked like mine, you probably have one of the newer versions, so PageFilter 2. But you can see what version you have by clicking the giant question mark and then the about, and it'll let you know what version. The current version that's out right now is 2.0.866. And then you can go to our website. You can click on the login. So it'll look like that. And $100 says you lost your login. It's been a long time. Maybe you got it when you first purchased the product. Maybe it's been years since you've logged in. No worries. You can actually email sales@csinc.com, and they can send you a new login or your product key if you're missing that as well. And feel free to tell them Zach sent you. They won't get mad. So once you're logged in, you can scroll down to the current product releases, and that's where you'll see all the CSI products that you own and are current on your support with. So you'll see PageFilter, and you'll notice that you can view the product, you can download it, or you can download just the documentation. And then once you download it, it's just in a zip file, so you can feel free to save it on your computer or your network. I like to save mine in a erase me directory on my desktop, so that way I know I can delete it later if I'm running out of space. And then once you go to run PageFilter, this is pretty important. You're going to want to make sure you right-click on it and run it as administrator. That makes sure that everything that PageFilter needs is installed. For the most part, The program is actually user installable. However, if you haven't completed an upgrade to PageFilter in a while, like perhaps you're still running the web version, we do include a PageFilter upgrade README that we definitely encourage you to review before you go and install the newest version of PageFilter. And then you will need your license key if it's the first time you're using it on that machine, or if you're installing the new version. And if you forgot what your license key is, you can also email sales@csinc.com. And if you wanted to add any other domains, so perhaps you just had your main organization's domain and now you're going to add some subpages or subdomains, you just need to let us know and we can add those to your license key as well. So what if you get stuck? First thing, always read the manual. We have a full-time Q&A staff as well as support team here, and they spend a good deal of time creating the documentation for all of our products. The user guide is installed with PageFilter, so you can access it either from our website or wherever you install PageFilter. But if you're still stuck, feel free to email support@csinc.com. But when you do, please make sure you include as much information about the problem, what user is using it, what page it might be on, what errors are occurring, and a screenshot of the problem. Screenshots are 1,000 words, and it really helps us eliminate a lot of back and forth questions the more information you can put in that first support ticket. You can typically expect a response to your ticket within 2 business days, but if it is something that's crucial, if your website's down, if there's something that's really wrong, you can always submit a ticket and then follow up with a phone call. And I will say our support team's actually running quite a bit faster than 2 business days. They're usually getting back to people the same day, maybe not resolved, but at least addressing your initial question. So let's say you had a great idea for an enhancement. How would you let us know about it? Well, you can email support@csinc.com, and we actually go through all product enhancements at the end of the month, and if it makes sense, it's something that's added to the slate and added to the product. If it doesn't make sense at this time, we still keep it around just in case there's more requests for that same enhancement. We could always look at revisiting it and adding it to the product in the future. How'd you find out about this event? Did you get an email? Did you go to our webinar page? Well, if you wanted to look for other webinars that we might be having, you can check out www.csinc.com/webinars. And you can also see any of the previous webinars that we've had. So just like this one, they're all going to be recorded and put on our website. So if you missed any previous ones, if you wanted to check out iMerge or iEmail, or iDocument, some of the more recent ones that we've done, you can also watch the recording that's already happened. So if you wanted to show your coworkers the power of PageFilter, you can just go to csinc.com/PageFilter. It's that easy. You can also direct them to the webinar page, or you could even have us or your solution provider set up a one-on-one demo, and we can do it for your organization. So right now, I'm going to open it up to any questions. If you guys do have any questions, remember, feel free to type in the text box, and I'll answer them as they come about. Ryan doesn't have a question, neither does Todd. That's pretty awesome. Well, I know everybody's busy this morning, so I'm going to let this go if there's no other questions. But if you do have any questions, feel free to email sales@csinc.com, or there's my direct email address, zbrandt@csinc.com, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you guys might have. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your week and have a great morning.